Hello, thanks very much for joining me again. I hope you're enjoying the channel. If so, please like and subscribe. Today I'm going to tackle the yellow owl. I'm going to keep it fairly traditional. I'm of course going to use a barbless hook. In the vise is a Hanak 330 barbless, and this is at size 12. It comes up quite small as far as hooks go. The thread I'm going to use is the uni thread in yellow. And first thing I'm going to do is get a bit of wax onto my thread. I'm just going to rub my nail through that, I don't want too much on. And I'm going to start just behind the eye. And get a nice bed of thread down. Now I've done about 3 or 4 millimeters there, and I'm going to come back to just before I started. I'm going to leave my rat's tail on because I'm going to need that later on. Next I'm going to add the wing of this fly, which is CDC. Today I'm using the Hanak competition CDC. You can buy ultra select stuff that comes in very neat packets that you can just pull out your CDC and it's all ready to tie in, which is great, but I'm too cheap for that, so I've already stacked. I've got 3 feathers for the size 12s. I use 4 for the size 10. And what I want to do is tie that in approximately the length of the entire hook. So dress it up, you can put a couple of turns in, let go of everything, just have a look, see if the proportions are right for you, and that's just about bang on for me. So I'm going to have 1 turn in front, and then I'll come back over like so. Now I'm going to trim this away now, and I'm not going to trim it blunt, so I'm not going to trim it at a 90 degree angle. I'm going to trim it at a 45 degree angle, and this is going to help me when I come to bring my thread down. So I've got hold of my rat's tail here in my left hand. I'm just going to pinch in the fibres and try and keep my turns nice and tight, and bring the thread all the way down to the butt of the fly. And just before I finish, I'm going to come in, take away my rat's tail, and then I can put another couple of turns in. Now before I do anything else, I'm just going to add a little bit more wax to my thread, and I'm going to use some stripped peacock herring. This has been pre-stripped. This is the trout line one. They're hand stripped. There's many ways of stripping peacock herring, and I'll put a link to some videos up on the info bar in a second. But I've already selected one from the packet, and what the best thing to do before you start tying with any of these, just make sure that there's no cracks or bubbles in it. Some people soak them to ensure subtlety, but I just make sure I've got a decent one to start with, and that seems to do the job. So I'm going to have a look at the fly, and I'm going to trim this appropriately to the length I need. Now the thread I'm using is probably not ideal for this fly. You're much better using a UTC thread, or even a ultimate tying silk, but they just don't do it in yellow. That's the problem, and I'm out of UTC, so I'm stuck with this. I'll make do with what I've got. Just taking my time forming the body, trying to make sure that I've covered all the CDC. It just takes a little bit of time to get it right. and then I can come all the way up to the top. And I'm just going to open my vise, have a look at see what you're seeing. That looks pretty tidy. I'm fairly pleased with that. Okay, next I'm going to use my hackle pliers to just catch the end of this to make my life a little bit more simple. And then I'm desperately going to try and avoid the point of my hook here. And I want nice, even turns, but I want them fairly far apart, so that yellow's showing through. Hence the name, the yellow owl, no doubt. I'm not quite sure where this pattern originated, but it's a very popular fly amongst the competition fraternity, and of course on its day it's super effective. So I'm just taking my time, nearly up to the thorax area. And I'll just catch that last bit in. Now I've put 2 turns in there just to hold it into place. I'm going to bring my thread around the front of the material, a couple of turns, and then I can come in with my snips and simply remove that. Okay, that's looking not too bad. Now obviously the peacock herald, when it's stripped, and even when it's not stripped actually, it's quite a fragile material, so I'm going to use some UV resin. I'm just going to use the Solaris, it's on a brush, so it's dead easy to apply. Just a very light layer, you don't want a lot of this on. Remember, you are tying a dry fly here, so the less weight you can possibly add, the better it is for the fly. I'm just going to open my vise so I can make sure I get right round the fly. It's one of the things I like about the Solaris, as well as curing quite quickly and solid. The brush makes it very easy to apply the resin. So I can come in now and just cure that off. And I'll just turn the vise again to get the underside. And I'm fairly content that that will now be dry. Yep, lovely. Okay, so the thorax area, there's a number of different things I could do here. I could simply use a little bit of dubbing and dub up round this area, and it, depending on, I just want to try and explain something to you. It's quite difficult because I know what I want to say, but I'm not quite sure how to say it. So depending on how I want this fly to sit in the water, it'll depend how much of this hackle needs to come back. So if I want it to sit with the body completely vertical in the water, I would just leave it as it is. So I'd finish my thorax here, and that would be that. But often I like mine to cock slightly. So I like to bring some of my thorax material to the front of the hook. I hope I've explained that right. I know what it looks like in my head, I'm just not probably doing a very good job of explaining it. So next I'm going to add some wax to my thread, and the thorax I'm going to use today, I've simply took a couple of strands from a peacock eye and I'm going to tie that in. So I'm going to tie it in at the thick ends first. Got 2 strands. And the wax on the thread at this point, just add that little bit of purchase. Then once I've got them tied in, I'm going to pull my CDC back, get a few wraps on at the front, and then I can concentrate now on putting my thorax in. Now, as I get near the front, I'm just going to lift the thorax back, bring it one turn over the other side, and keeping hold of it, I'm now going to bring my thread around and trap it in place. Then if I bring everything back now, I can put a few locking turns. Keeping tension on the thread, I should now be able to just pull that away. It's not quite worked out. What we'll do is just put a half hitch in. I don't want it unravelling at this point. Just turn and sort out the mess I've left. Okay, I've got that now. To finish off, I'm going to add a little bit of UV to my thread. Pull back all my fibres. Couple of half hitches. Now you might have seen me in the past just snap away the thread, and when I'm using Ultimate Tying Silk that worked great, but with the uni thread that's not such a good idea. So I'll just cure off what I've done, and to finish that I'm going to come in with my snips like so, and there we go. There's a yellow owl. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.